days, Monday and Tuesday. And ahead of that, we have Rajat Rajgarhia, Managing Director, CEO, Institutional Equities at Motilal Oswal Financial Services with us. Rajat, it's always great to see you here on the channel. Appreciate your time on CNBC TV18. And, you know, typically, from what I understand, Rajat, this is a conference where you ideate and look at sort of picking mid-caps, small caps. I mean, that's the part of the market where this ideation is focused on. You know, it's interesting. It's an interesting time to do that because we've seen some sharp sell-offs in that space, which perhaps gives an opportunity now to look at more reasonable levels. I mean, great stories, but better prices. So just sort of start us off there in terms of how you're looking at this, given the market context.
Hi Prashant, thank you for having me on the channel. So this is our 9th year of doing this ideation conference, and this conference typically focuses on companies with more bias towards mid and the small caps. And typically every year, or this year, we have almost close to 75 plus companies who would be engaging with investors over a 2-day period. We have a very good level of interaction or lineup of investors, you know, for these 75 plus companies. And you rightly mentioned that, you know, whenever we plan the events, we don't take view on the markets. The conference is a platform where businesses are being discussed. Stocks can always be up and down. When they are up, they are exciting. When they are down, they are interesting. As you rightly mentioned that this is an interesting time because we think that whatever has happened in the market in the last couple of weeks, and more so in the mid and the small cap space, right? Businesses are only getting better and poised for a better growth. But what is working in favor of the investors is that the entry price points for a lot of these names are only getting better. So I think this correction from a conference point of view just helps investors that wherever you build more conviction on the businesses, on the stories, your price points today are a lot better than what they would have been a couple of weeks back.
Rajat, afternoon. So out of these 75 plus companies that you're featuring, how many of them are new companies where Motilal Oswal doesn't have coverage right now? Just trying to understand how you're expanding the pool of your portfolio companies. And if you can also provide a tilt in terms of, you know, how many from the finance, how many from the real estate or the ancillary, IT, etc.
So, you know, because it's a ideation conference, mid and small cap, there is no sector bias. I can tell you that this covers almost every sector that one can think about, be it financials. Within financials also, lenders, capital market, intermediaries, you have auto comms, you have infrastructure, manufacturing, technology, you know, healthcare. Check about any sector because we focus more on individual companies and ideas. There is no sector bias. From a coverage point of view, I must share that a large number of the companies in this conference would be the ones where we do not have a rating right now. And that is the theme of bringing this conference every year, that there are a lot of the names, a lot of the companies which may not be well covered, right? But they are companies which are worth meeting, growing well, growing big. And we think this is a good platform for investors to get well versed with those names.
Rajat, hi, good afternoon. So while obviously this is all bottom up and it's all very specific to individual companies, promoters, etc., but can you give us any broad trends in terms of your areas of interest where you're looking very carefully with that magnifying lens? Because in the recent past, you know, pockets where there was, let's say, EMS, electronics manufacturing, or even defense, or, you know, we've seen the whole PSU move play out. So a lot of these places have already seen a very, very hectic rally, so to speak. And that's where the correction is also coming in. So how would you tie that in, and which are the specific themes that still hold a lot of interest for you?
Yeah. So, you know, when I was on your channel a few months back, we discussed in details about several themes. I must share that all those themes remain intact. While they have rallied a lot from there and they have corrected also in the last few weeks, I'll come to the correction later on. But to those themes, I just want to reiterate that our themes largely remain unchanged. And if I can sum up those, we have been a big bulls on the entire travel and tourism that we have been running for the last 2-3 years. I think this space is only going to get larger, more organized, and more wealth creator in the markets. Second, this entire financialization of savings, which we have been seeing expanding through multiple players in capital markets, not just brokers, not just AMCs, not just other intermediaries. Some of these may have seen again good corrections in the last couple of weeks. But let me tell you, the broader story next 1, 3, 5 years remains as firm as they were when we last spoke. Third, I think manufacturing is yet to fire. We can definitely see stocks that have rallied very well in the last 1 year, but I think the best is ahead for this space. Coming on the correction, I think we are right now quite focused on how much stocks have corrected in the last 1 week or so. But I think uh, whenever stocks go up 2x, 3x, some bit of correction is always good. I just wish that you see valuations becoming little more reasonable for the stories or the themes that you want to play. And this phase of price correction, along with some time correction, will allow investors to position well.
Okay, all right. Hi, Rajat. Request you just to hold on to that thought. We have some comments coming in from the IOC CMD, which is coming in from my colleague Sapna. She's saying that, in fact, the LPG, petrol and diesel price cuts are unlikely to impact the bottom lines out there. So, I think we'll get some of those comments that are flashed for you on the screen. For the time being, the stocks are under pressure. But just keep an eye out on IOC. We have some comments that are coming in there, which our ticker team will put out for you on the screen as well. But Rajat, hi, good afternoon. Nigel on this side. And I want to compliment you actually on two calls. One is on the PSU theme that you all have been quite bullish on. I think the preference was PSU banks in comparison to the private banks. And the other one was the travel and tourism theme that you were talking about. I think Indian hotels was another big pick. As of now, which way would you tilt? That PSU bank theme worked out well, but at current reckoning, would it still be PSU banks over private sector banks? And from the travel and tourism theme, are the hotels the main play?
Well, I think almost all the themes that we spoke last, right, they still remain to be our favorites. I think PSU banks, this is a kind of a cycle for this PSU banks that at least I have not seen in the last 20-25 years. You are staring at a growth cycle with a pristine asset quality. And despite the rally that you have seen, on an average, most of the top PSU banks are still around closer to 1.1 time book. I think there's still a lot of money to be made for people who can hold them for the next 2-3 years. Travel and tourism, I think hotels is the one where the big brands are present and they are going to leverage and improve their ROEs a lot. You have aviation, but the play is limited just to one company. Plus, I think over the coming times, you will see lot more listings coming into this travel and tourism. Whenever a sector becomes big, in this market, in this cycle, you are seeing options being played out through multiple new IPOs and multiple larger floats. I think in the coming months, coming years, you will see this space getting very large for investors to put more money in.
Okay, no, absolutely. The other space is capital market plays, right, Rajat? Again, something that you guys have sort of spoken about vocally and espoused your liking for that space. There are so many kinds of capital market plays, not just brokers who were listed earlier. Now we've got, CAMs, you've got, of course, broking companies, you've got wealth management companies, you've got an exchange, and so on and so forth. What's the best play? I mean, capital markets will continue to grow and grow. It's, in a way, secular. But what is the best way to play this, in your opinion?
Well, the theme is common for all the capital market players. You have 15 crore demat accounts growing rapidly. We still see a long runway of growth. The SIP flows, which currently stands at 19,000 crores, in our view, over a period of time, will keep compounding. So I think be it broker, be it exchanges, be it DP, be it AMCs, you just need to, I think the two important things is bet on the leader in these spaces and just make sure that your entry price, entry valuation, which this correction is making a lot more favorable. right, you tend to benefit from it. But this is again a space, Prashant, where over the next 1-2 years, lot more listings will happen, lot more plays will come up. This is a space which is only going to get very large in a $4 to $5 trillion market cap, which is poised to double over the next 6-7 years, right? The plays are going to be very large in capital markets. So I think an early positioning into some of the market leaders will help you compound as these companies compound.
You know, one thing I left out is mutual funds. Those are the biggest guys there in that space. But
Yeah.
there's no preference. I mean, you know, more durable, more kind of steady, less affected by regulation as they come along. I mean, is there a preference that you'd go with? The kind of where in the capital market value chain? I mean, is there a food chain here? Something sits on top, and so yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, sorry. So, you know, in the entire capital market space, in each segment, you don't have too many players also. In AMC, maybe you have 4 players listed right now, but a lot more listings will happen in the next 2 years. Brokerages also, you have just 3 or 4 players who are listed. Lot more should happen. So I think the theme itself is so powerful. You can pick your own bet, but important is wherever there is a market leader, and especially if in segments where suppose you have duopoly or 3-player market, the share of the growth pie for the top 1 or 2 players can be very sizable. They will get a premium multiple. One just needs to keep finding to ensure that, you know, your entry price or your buying valuation is very reasonable.
Rajat, are you a bit worried about the recent regulatory action on particular NBFCs hurting the sentiment for the entire NBFC sector? Will this extend to other, companies in that area? Is that a bit of a worry for investors now that let's wait it out to see what, if more regulatory action is going to come before they pump in more money?
Well, there are 2 things. One is short term. People definitely try to, extrapolate from one space to another. And that is fair also to do. But I think second thing is whenever regulations come, the regulator intent is always to make the underlying trend, the underlying business stronger, right? And we have seen over the last 1 to 2 decades, the lending business, be it banks or be it NBFCs, the regulations have always made the sector more stronger. I think investors in the long term will actually appreciate that if the growth is more quality driven, right? The valuations of the people who are valuations of the companies who are going to benefit from this will actually expand rather than contract. Short term, of course, you will have noises, but I think long term, the players who are doing the businesses in the best regulated quality manner, their multiples will only expand.
Thank you very much for that, Rajat. We look forward to getting, the snippets of your, some of the key takeaways that you've had post the Ideation Conference. Have a good one. By the way, the Nifty is now back. The Nifty slipped close to about 100.
For more news and updates, all you need to do is follow CNBC TV18 on all of our digital platforms.